It looks like for now, the people that suggested our first two topics, Doc and Echo, are not here. So,
Right here.
I mean, like Doc Holiday, not you.
Oh,
I know you're
every
here.
time.
God damn it. So yeah, we can start Doc with yours, and then move on to Biscuit's topic, and then hopefully one of them trickles in. If not, then we can just go through it either way.
Sure. Ready?
Yep.
Yeah, so I know there was a lot of discussion in the member general a couple weeks back, and that's why I put that back in there to discuss DCE general. I wanted to open it up just for anybody to, pipe in and put their 2 cents or ideas about, but mostly I wanted to talk about the stage two. From what it sounds like, I know there's a lot of back and forth with, people, reps, just voting based on who the faction and group leaders told what they told them to vote, or I think maybe there's a lot of miscommunication or confusion. It seems like a lot of times people might vote no on something because they just aren't fully informed. Maybe they think there's, XYZ is going to happen with this, but in the actual thread itself, before it moved forward, it was already, discussed, and that was, figured out that that's not an issue. So I mean, the idea I wanted to do, and I wish Oz was here because I was going to see if possible, before we have these stage two votes, if it's possible for him to release, a few days in advance to the group and faction reps, what the mods are, and then us as the group and faction reps can connect and just go over and maybe do this a nice quick summary, I guess, of everything being voted on. Just pop up a few bullet points from the main topics that were in the thread initially, and then be able to have that to share with every other group, so that their reps can be a little bit more well informed, I think, and have an idea, I guess, on what they're voting for, over than just what the 3-4 words in the description of the mod that, or the implementation or change that's being voted on, yes or no. But I mean, if anybody else has other ideas or concerns, questions on that whole process, I'll open the floor for anybody.
Well, Joe's next in queue. Go ahead, Joe.
So a wise man once said, "Democracy is power to the people, but the people are stupid."
Yep.
You can't necessarily rely on everyone who's voting on something being 100% informed. That said, if people feel compelled to vote the way their leaders voted, that's a problem. And maybe we could do more to summarize these threads for stage two. So there is one thing we could do quite easily, I think. Stage one votes. When you start the voting, there is an option to summarize everything that's happened in that thread in a single message and just say, this is what's being voted on. This is what was discussed. The potential problems are X, Y, Z. The reasons they aren't problems are ABC. Please vote. And perhaps if people did that more regularly, we could copy paste those summaries over to the stage two voting. Does that sound like a good step?
I like that. I think it pretty much exactly what I was hoping for. And heck, I haven't looked, I guess, in the last few stage ones, but if I remember, majority of them always have a decent summary, I think.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, speaking for the people who implemented the CCE for a moment, although they're here to speak for themselves. I think at all stages, but especially stage one, we want to see more thought from people, especially the people who were leading these threads, especially all the group and faction leaders. Often we just see stuff from the main channel copy pasted with "let's do this" and no real consideration of potential pitfalls or potential problems or potential solutions even for the proposal that's being discussed. So do your homework, summarize it, and perhaps people will be better informed.
I actually have a question then for you, Joe, just to refresh myself, or I guess clarify. What would you say is the main difference between the CC suggestions, where that gets turned into a thread, it seems like the good ideas that move forward get discussed pretty highly before it gets moved to the discussion panel for stage 1 before a vote is called. And in that stage 1 before a vote is called, in that other thread, what's I guess supposed to be the main difference that's being discussed there versus when it was initially suggested?
So the main channel is there for anyone who's a member to just chuck something up, and it can be hastily done. They can do so without really considering the problem in depth, and then some discussion tends to happen before it's moved to a thread. But it doesn't always happen. You could get a case where someone puts up, add sharks, and it gets 40 likes, and that just gets copy pasted over to the threads. That's what we're not really looking to see. People are discussing it in that channel, and then it's going to a thread, and the same things are being repeated. I guess that's not ideal, but I don't really know how we can fix that. I think people, group and faction reps who are taking these votes forward from that main channel to a thread where they get discussed in depth and then voted on, should do a little bit of legwork to summarize it in a more in-depth format and consider some of the problems and consider some of the potential workarounds. I don't make many CC suggestions. I haven't made one in a long time. I think the last one I made was redistributing heli spawns, and I wrote like a good long document on why I think that should happen, which was well received. So, yeah, I guess that's me leading by example.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think just having a better summary in place could definitely get rid of a lot of people that are, voting a little less informed on things. And I think just us as community itself just have to, I think, be a little bit better. Giving a summary to people or answering questions or, making those initial suggestions to begin with, make sure they're pretty fleshed out.
Yeah, so for example, the bloody clothes suggestion you made recently, I noticed you wrote a good summary, included reasons for suggesting it, and included some of the perks associated with that particular mod. But then obviously that could be re-summarized, and the discussion around it could be re-summarized when voting starts and when that thread's locked. And then when people go to vote, the first thing they see is a summary of what was discussed in that channel.
Oh, I love that. Isn't there a template or something too for I thought I saw something on the Reddit way back for how to properly put in the suggestion for voting or something like that.
I think Diesel outlined a sort of template of what he would like to see people doing, what he would like people to consider before they make a suggestion. And it includes issues of practicality that, to be frank, I'm not seeing a lot of people thinking about. It often takes a member of the modding team or the staff to step in and say, we probably can't do this for this, that, and the other reason. But those aren't things that people couldn't know. Those are things that are publicly known about the game.
Right. Anybody else has anything to want to discuss just in CCE in general? Like I said, I'll open the floor, but that's the main point I wanted to cover. And I think I'm pretty happy if we can have some sort of summary going into stage 2 votes. I think that's going to be nice.
Yeah, I'll talk to Oz about that. I don't see why it couldn't happen because I believe we just use Google Forms and there is framework there to add a summary.
My counterpoint to what you said, Matt, is what if it's a pretty simple sort of subject, and there's say there's one pro and then one possible con that could come out of it. I think putting a hard number on it could mean that it'd be kind of tricky to format up three pros and cons for every suggestion that comes up.
Yeah, I think what we want to see is people doing their homework at all stages of this. And if the homework is, there's really not any obvious downsides to this and it would be quite easy to implement, then that's fine.
And obviously, like, if someone more knowledgeable comes along, then they can be like, oh, well, I know a bit more about DayZ and modding and blah, 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 and this is not possible, or...
Yeah.
Because
And
obviously,
then
not
that
everyone's
would
a wizard.
that could be incorporated into a summary before
Yeah.
voting, for example.
It's hugely not unreasonable to say whoever's responsible for putting out the factions, please vote, being that they should re-summarize the discussion that's been had. That's wildly fair.
Yeah, I think this is the community system. We don't want to really get involved too much. We like you guys having power over what gets added, but it's important to take ownership of it and think carefully about problems and potential pitfalls. I mean, honestly, the admin team has to do QA for a lot of these mods that get voted in. I had to do QA for the Even More Doors mod, and I discovered quite late in that process, after it had been voted on at stage 2, that there was some quite obvious and well-known bugs with that mod in the past. Thankfully, in that case, they were gone, and I couldn't reproduce them. But it gives an example of, this should be done earlier on in the stage, and it probably really shouldn't be the staff having to do that.
Yeah, because it sucked to get everyone all hyped up and ready for like a new thing to come in, and then like the staff like load it up in like a test server or offline mode or whatever, and then discover that it's laden with bugs and no one bothered to check that beforehand. So then they have to come out and be like, "Sorry guys, this can't go in. Like it's not."
Well,
good.
it's actually, if you guys vote something in and it's not completely game breaking, if it's just imbalanced or something, we'll add it. We will do that because we think it's important that you guys have ownership of what's on there, and if you want something that breaks the game, then perhaps you're going to get it.
That guys, we're gonna get helicopters.
I'm typing up the suggestion for DayZ expansion right now. Anyway, if anyone else has anything else they'd like to say about this topic, then by all means, the floor is open. If not, then we can move on to the next one. Alright. Again, since Doc Holiday and Echo aren't here, we can move on with Biscuit's suggestion, because I'm actually quite intrigued by this one as well. So the floor is yours, Benjamin Smits, assuming you're here.
Hi. I kind of just put this in there because it's just something that I took notice of. Like, we don't have as many community meeting suggestions come up anymore. And it kind of stemmed from when you put a message saying, the meeting's coming up soon, but there's not that many suggestions. So, like, what do you want me to do, kind of thing. And then it got me wondering, like, why is there not that many suggestions anymore? Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? Like, do people not care because they're enjoying themselves, or do people not care because there's just no like love there anymore, kind of thing?
One of my kind of personal headcanons is that I think the CCE being added has kind of given a lot of people a platform to express a lot more of like what they want to see in the server and stuff like that. So maybe they feel there's not quite as much that needs to discuss. Like, whereas previously, like before the CCE was set up, people would just like, they'd be like, oh, I think this change should come to the server, let's discuss it at the community meeting. But now obviously they can go there. And I've noticed that there tends to be like a little bit of an uptick if I give like a heads up of like when a meeting's going to take place, but I'd rather not announce a date for a meeting with the chance that it'll come around and we'll have like no suggestion, no like topics, and I'll just be like, well, sorry guys, we need to go home.
I was thinking, why don't you start a timer as soon as there's, say, 10 suggestions in the chat? Or 10 topics in the chat. As soon as you hit 10, then you can start a timer on the next meeting, maybe.
The thing with that that makes it kind of awkward is one of the things I touched on when I posted it, and I think it was Members General or something. It was like, the longer a topic sits there, the like higher the chances of it just being like either already addressed, not relevant anymore, or just otherwise like outdated. Because obviously Doc's, like, the reason I kind of put it up was because Doc's suggestion had been there for like 2 months, actually 2 months as of yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was just like, Doc, do you still feel like this is like something that's relevant? Like, is it still something you're prepared to discuss? Because like, it would feel probably kind of weird to just call him in and be like, hey, remember this thing you like suggested like 2 months ago? Yeah, time to make your piece on it, buddy.
Do you think it could be that we've just got a lot of new members these days and they don't really know what these meetings are and what we do, like how the discussion kind of is? You know, if they've never
It
been
might
to them?
be.
It may be that these meetings need to pivot a bit. I mean, I know we sort of, as staff, we endeavour to be here or send at least a couple of us every time. And we were happy to answer questions about the server, community, rules, anything like that, in a more sort of free-form context. So if we're looking for things to do, then that's another thing we can do.
Solus, go ahead. I wasn't sure if you'd retracted your cue, by the way, when you said that I'd made the point that
I
you were going
did,
to make.
essentially, yeah. So it's a secondary point, just saying I do want to see like more people attend these meetings. I wanted to kind of mention that I see we've got about 30 people right now. I had mentioned to Jimmy offhand, because I do think this is maybe the first or second one he's been able to attend, that we've often had up to 70 individuals in the channel before when it comes to these community meetings. And last time there was even a brand new user to Doug who had an emotional issue. He was kind of upset. He assumed people were duping, and we got him to join the community meeting the day of it was occurring, when he didn't know it was occurring or that he could even bring his issues like that to the meeting. So more communication about the meeting for sure, or more of a format like that, keeping it to a set, maybe a standard. Like Biscuit's idea is making sure it occurs every time we have a set amount of things to talk about is good, but just 10 topics is a lot, and that was covered. And I think I like that idea. But
Yeah, 10 was just a number that I threw out there. It'll have to be 10.
but it's ridiculously valuable. These meetings are, and having the people that filter out of the here and share what happened with the rest of the community, it all serves a purpose and it all goes somewhere. Right? I like it when we end up here and we actually talk about things that matter. That's it.
It could be good to kind of talk about community meetings more, like kind of be like, hey, these are a thing, by the way.
This is something we can probably help with. If people want, we can put out Discord pings, and we could also put up a temporary message in Dart as well, so people would see it on the server.
I do actually have a suggestion for this, that we make the community meetings channel at least visible to non-members, even if they can't post in it, make it visible to them so they know that, like, oh, these community meetings happen. Because I'm pretty sure, at least last I checked, the community meetings channel is not visible to non-members, and I think it might be the same for the events channel, but I'm not sure.
That's something we could look into. I'm not going to promise it.
Yeah. Because I've always found it kind of weird that, like, obviously we try and invite, like, everyone to these community meetings, but only the members can sort of, like, see it. So, like, if I put in, like, they can't see the events channel either, then I post my message in Doug General to try and kind of attract some more general, like, new players and people that aren't members yet to come and sit in. But if that message then gets just buried underneath everything else, then I don't think there's really much that could be done, like I could do at least, to tell them about it. Also,
Yeah, we can look into some of these things for sure.
Dusty, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think maybe part of it, I know it is kind of for me, I don't really use TeamSpeak a lot. So I don't know if there is a way to maybe do maybe like one or two or something in Discord. That way everyone has access to it if they're not, if they don't have TeamSpeak or anything. I don't know if that, if that was, if that idea has been thought of or anything.
I don't think we've had people say like, oh, why do you use TeamSpeak? You should just use Discord, like wanting us to use Discord for everything. But hosting a one-off like community meeting in the Discord could kind of draw attention to it, because I feel like there's a lot of people that will kind of like peruse the Discord, and if they hover over like Doug Discord and see like a bunch of people in a VC, it might be like, oh, what's going on there?
I don't think we have any plans to have channels in the Doug Discord. It's not a very good platform for the end user as a voice user. It's not very good, and especially for administrators, it's very bad.
There's a whole bunch of new administration tools to try to do exactly that with Discord, but that's also part of the point. Is you have to utilize like 9, 10 additional new tools and start a stage and moderate people, where that doesn't have to occur at all in TeamSpeak. This is a much better platform for like rounding people up for the say. I'd rather teach 20 people how to download TeamSpeak rather than teach them how to raise their hand in a Discord presentation.
Yeah, that's fair. Plus, like, double digits of people in a Discord VC is always terrible.
But that is huge as a draw. You're right. Like if somebody hovered over the Doug Discord icon and saw the VC that's never there, and they saw 30 people in it, that would draw people in, and it would be on us to capitalize after that and be like, oh, welcome to the meeting.
Though I think there's definitely a lot that could be done sort of out with that. Like before, to like kind of draw people into the meetings. Just like raising awareness of like that, hey, this is a thing that happens, like you should totally like come over here and voice your opinions. Doc, go ahead.
And would it be possible if, say, for community meetings, the staff team does do like an at here announcement, or opened up for non-whitelisted members to be able to view parts, or however that's announced. If it's just like even just having at the bottom, it will be in TeamSpeak, and just have the IP and the port or whatever to connect to it at the very
Yeah, so doing pings, creating Discord events, all of that, I'm gonna take that to the rest of the team and we'll see what we can do.
I believe in the lead up to the like past community meetings I've seen, there has been like a Discord event like in the kind of top left corner. I don't think there's one this time, but the last one there definitely was. Though I'm not really sure. I'm not sure like how many of your average like Discord users will even like pay attention to that sort of stuff. They might just like click on the channels, go through the channels, be like, okay, I've seen everything, and then just off they pop. But yeah, if staff want to ping people, even pinging people obviously when the meeting's starting, and then like maybe a ping when the date gets announced, encouraging people to like get in any suggestions for topics and stuff that they have. Because I've definitely noticed an uptick in people, at least in the past, maybe not quite so much this time. There tends to be an uptick when the actual meeting date gets announced. People tend to be like much more willing to put forward a topic and discuss it if they know that one's kind of on the horizon. But I'd rather not like announce one too early. Like, I like to leave it until we have like at least a couple topics that we can discuss, so that it's not gonna flatten out and just be like we talk for 20 minutes and then we're gone. Well, anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic? Well, if not, then we can circle around to Doc and Echo's topics. And there is still no sign of Doc, which I'm not that surprised with, because he was drinking
He's moving
last night.
house.
Ah, that'll be it as well. And I
Bro's
don't.
sleep schedule's been backwards forever, even if he wasn't moving.
But we also had Drunk as Midnight last night, and he was there until quite late, so that is also probably a factor. Right. So, the topic from Doc Holiday is mentality consideration for hostile RPers. Which I do believe there was a discussion on this shortly after he posted it, and it is at least a discussion that we've had a few times, and it tends to be more or less, it can be tough to be the bad guy, especially when people aren't really willing to sort of play ball and play along and value their life. Like, you'll wave a gun in their face and they'll just be like, don't care. Just shoot me, bro. I can just go back to the coast. I don't care. I don't know if anyone has anything else that they'd like to say on this. Because it has, I believe there was a discussion on it previously, but Solus, go ahead.
Say I'd preface it just by saying I personally haven't been in many RP interactions where it's about like how much I personally can give and make it seem like there's a torture situation or anything like giving to hostile RP. But I've seen other people participate in that, and I've seen their arguments after, like if they didn't feel like they gave enough, or if the person that was being hostile didn't feel like they gave enough. And the conversation just goes on for so long, and most often nobody comes to a conclusion, which was right because it's just about their feelings. And I think that would probably be a good point to add to the discussion or ask others how much they are interested in not valuing life rules. If there's something that gets recorded or something like that, is there anything that Doug can do? Can Doug step in from an admin level where somebody's literally not RPing? Organic RP is one thing, and maybe not being with it is another. But if you like are legitimately being flippant or just like casting off somebody's attempts to RP, that is much different than like not being conducive to a torturer or etc. And that would be something I'd like to see where maybe people are at on. That's it.
I'm not going to speak for the red names because I don't make rules. But I'd be surprised if they would be conducive to something like that.
Right, it's such a bad slope to even look at.
Ultimately, there's no rule against someone coming on Doug and just playing the server like it's DayZ.
Nor really should there be, I suppose, because we want this to be as organic as possible, so you're bound to have some of the server people or the ones that just talk about respawning and this, that, and the other thing. Yes, crackheads. It's always going to be plenty of crackheads. Go ahead, Benjamin.
For me, it's not really those moments where you do just get a random player who doesn't value their life. It's the more so the other community members and what they think of you out of character as a person. Like, there's not many evil groups at the moment, and we're trying to play a part in the server. And when you hear things, I mean, Dan touched on this last time when in the community meeting. And when you hear things of like what people say and stuff, just because you did a certain thing in game, when you're just trying to create a hostile story, it is frustrating. I don't really want to say much more than that, really.
Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just agree with Biscuits there. There are notably less antagonistic groups these days. I think it has become harder to do because I think the server climate is a little bit more hostile to it.
Ironic.
Speaking as a player rather than as a moderator, obviously. In character, hate me all you want. That's what I'm going for. I want to be someone who everyone can disagree on disliking in character. That is success to me. But I don't enjoy the fact that antagonists on Doug often have their motives questioned as role players and as players. Because I think by and large, most of them are trying to make the server a better place in their own way. And I think that's forgotten quite a lot of the time.
Yeah, lots of people, they do sort of see being like a bandit as the easy path. And I mean, I guess if you do just kind of shoot everyone that you come across, like if you shoot everyone you see, you never put yourself at risk, that side of it could be. But if you're trying to like hold people up, if you're trying to like shake people down, and if you're trying to engage in hostile RP that isn't just like I shoot you the second I see you, you can actually end up kind of almost putting a lot of your faith in the other person, that like if you're say holding them up, they're not just going to pull the chambered Makarov out of their pants and try and blow your head off before they get like hosed down by all of your friends or whoever else is there. The amount of people I've seen where it's just been one person and there's been like another like 2-3 guys that have been trying to hold them up, and then they just decide, okay, no, I'm just going to try and take down as many of these assholes as I can. It just stings, especially when it's like someone that's in the community. You know, it's not just like some random. Benjamin, go ahead.
This is just into replying to what I think it was what Joe said. It's like a lot of the feedback that we get from people that the people that I hold up that I've never met before, like once they have an interaction with, myself or FL, they always tend to, most of the time, enjoy it or enjoy the story and things like that. But they're almost shocked. They're almost like, "Whoa, I didn't expect that from you guys. I heard you guys are the worst of the worst," and it like stifles our RP a lot. And a lot of the time, the opportunities to roleplay are sometimes few and far between. But we enjoy the challenge. It's good fun, but at the same time, it can sometimes, again, touching on what Dan was saying last time, like when you hear things through the grapevine about what people say and stuff, it makes you a bit sad. That's all.
Doc, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of reiterating, but I definitely can see stigma there where, being that bad guy is quote unquote easier, right? But I think if you're trying to be a bad guy in an RP sense, it's just as difficult as any other group, player, individual, whatever it might be, just trying to role play and without any rules against KOSing, of course. I mean, you're going to do a hostile RP, you can't just shoot people on sight. You have to actually still put your character at risk to approach this person, hold them up, and in plenty of situations that, for example, FL has had where that just was gone south and it just wasn't played out how it should have been for a good RP story. And I can think of a few, off the top of my head, situations where similar things, and heck, even a few where we could have done it a lot better too. A little bit more mindful, maybe. I don't know.
I think we did the best we could out of our storylines, to be honest. To the point where, in the end, I think most people enjoyed it.
I still enjoy shooting you guys.
Yeah, I've been waiting.
I know what you're saying though, but it can't be perfect at the end of the day,
Yeah, you could sit and nitpick like any interaction or anything like that,
Yeah.
but as long as you're like trying your best or giving it all you can, then
I mean,
you can't really knock it.
Look,
But that's the
it's not
thing
my,
as well.
it's not
It's
my
organic,
fault that
right? It's not
it's not
always
my
going to
fault
be.
that JJ hasn't gotten on to play.
No, I think we had quite an enjoyable storyline with you guys. I think what Biscuits and I get frustrated by is when people put down their racket and refuse to play. I don't think that's what you guys did at all.
They just fold their arms and say, "Nuh-uh, not doing it. No."
Yeah, essentially, just I'm not interested in this. Kill me if you want. See you later.
All right, just keep shooting at us, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Damn, got a lot of that back when it was just the like, no, not doing that. No,
Careful what you wish for.
we're
now.
neutral. You can't. No. Anyway, Oswald, you're next in queue.
Oh, he did. Bye, Oswald.
Oh.
Hang on, give him a second.
Wow.
I was
I'll
looking
back
at I was
instead.
looking at like the O's and I was like, I don't see an Oswald in here. Joins queue, immediately leaves. Well, I guess if he comes back, then he can.
You might be having issues right now.
Yeah, if he comes back, he can pick up whichever thing he wanted to. But I guess until then, we can continue. I'll keep an eye and see if I notice him slip back in.
What's his name? Oswald.
It looked like it was just Oswald.
He's Oswald_Jericho in Discord. I'm already DMing him.
He needs to fix that.
You still call him JJ. Why can't he be Jericho? That's a J.
I just know him as Oswald.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Hello? Sorry. Yeah, so I came here late, obviously, so I don't really know what you guys are saying about the hostile RP. I, having played like all of the different forms of Doug, right? Good guy, bad guy, in between, right? I think being a good bad guy in an RP sense is like the hardest thing you could do. Because you want to like keep everyone happy, like at OOC. Because in my case, I'm winning a lot, right? And that if it was going the other way, it wouldn't matter really. But it's hard for everyone else to take L's, and it makes sense because you're playing your game and you don't want to, lose. But I feel like in an RP sense, everyone should be ready to take an L and RP off of it, and not just be like, I'm going to keep going till I win. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep being defiant, and that's what we've been running into. It's a bunch of people are just kind of continuously going, and we know none of them will want to take the L. Which makes sense. You're playing a video game, but I think as a good guy group, you should be ready to lose. Same with everyone should be ready to lose. We're ready to lose. If someone held me up and gave me good RP and killed me, I'd take the perma. And that goes for everyone else in my group too. I think everyone else has to have that same mindset,
Rip Jericho.
Yeah. That's about it.
Anyone else have anything they'd like to say on this topic? The floor is open, but if there's nothing else, then we can move on to the final topic we have. Of course, if at the end, if anyone wants to bring up anything, if staff have anything they'd like to say, of course, as has been the case at some previous meetings, then they are more than welcome to do so. What was that, Alan?
I'm driving.
Understandable.
Stop driving on your phone. Turn your phone off.
Hear me good.
So American, man. So American.
Is the fucking phone under his car seat or something?
I've been in a car with Alan, and I don't like how it ended.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, better. Okay, I just want to say one thing to keep in mind as well. people like me and Alex, we're kind of new to this stuff, so sometimes we don't necessarily even know what we're doing or how to react. So just keep that in mind with people that kind of get fit LRP in these situations. I'm learning a lot, so looking for that next bad guy or situation to try to do it better. That's all I got.
I mean, yeah, my first like proper situation where I think I was in Berezino and I got found by Dam. It was me and like two other dudes, and I had came like hot off the heels of like official servers, and they basically surrounded our house, and we all pulled our guns like panicking, and they told us to like put our guns away or like this would get ugly. So we decided to put our guns away and then walked away with like the best, like one of the best like interactions that like hooked me on the server. Whereas if that had been on officials, it would have just been you'd hear footsteps outside and then someone would charge at you and try and gun you down. So it can be quite different, especially if they're coming from a lot of other DayZ servers that don't really put much emphasis on interaction. May has a topic if you'd like to quickly cover that with the vain hope that Echo will show up, which is not likely.
I just real quick wanted to bring up drip check lately. I don't know, I feel like it used to be a place where people would go, they'd put their drip, everybody would, put a nice comment or not comment at all or whatever. But it feels like lately I've seen people posting pictures of people they've killed, um, getting into a fight, and then seeing those people run to drip check and put on the plate that they just took off of my guy's dead body, and then switching it so the other person can do a drip check picture. Like, I feel like that stuff is pretty toxic. And I know there's no way to obviously sit and moderate all of drip check, but I guess I just want to put it out there that maybe everybody should be reminded what drip check is there for, I guess.
Yeah, that reminds me of a lot of the drip checks you'd see during the East versus West war, when it'd be like, hey, look at me, my drip, don't mind me holding my plate with my foul in my hands and SVD on my back or anything. That's just there for RP purposes.
I'm gonna preface this by saying I hate drip check. If people are misusing it, just tell us. I don't read it because I hate it, but if I have to moderate it, then I will.
There was a new user to the community that had posted somebody they killed, I think full dead body picture and all into drip check, and they were corrected. But other than that, maybe, yeah, if there's bad sportsmanship.
So I can't guess at you guys PIDs getting posted in drip check after you got shot, because I don't know what you guys swear on a given day. If there's something, if people are being toxic in there, just DM one of us.
And I did, when obviously our guys getting killed and then people immediately running to drip check and posting like their whole entire outfit. I did DM an admin about it, but I just feel like lately that seems to be like the big thing, is running there and posting things that you took off of people and whatnot. And I feel like if you're going to do that, there's a time and a place, and maybe later on, not right after the interaction, is, if you feel like you got to do it, wait, be courteous of other people in the game,
Yep. I mean, yeah. If people are being dicks, let us know.
Right.
But I won't see it of my own volition, because often I won't know that an item was yours. I won't know if people are being obnoxious, and I definitely won't be reading drip check.
Anyone else have any input they'd like to throw into this topic? Because if not, we can move on to the next one. Right. Next topic comes from Echo. And it is something that seems to have popped up recently is the conversation of what makes Doug unique in the current day. Many other servers, like Stalker and N10Z, seem to draw players in with hardcore aspects or somewhat outlined guides for RP. So should we as a server or community look at various things to implement, whether it's hardcore aspects or more in-depth guidelines for roleplay to continue to draw in players? If anyone has anything they'd like to say on this topic, then of course the floor is open. Though, as someone that's been around here for at least a little while now, I don't think I could ever. I don't think I could ever see like actual rules that dictate how you're supposed to interact with people. I don't think I could see that ever going down well. Because we here value our organic RP and being able to have as many tools, I guess, at our disposal to be able to tackle any situation as our character would. Go ahead, Solus.
Sorry, I was clearing my throat. Say a lot of the things that makes Doug unique would have to, at least immediately what comes to mind for me, is some of the crafting things. Different, like the bow obviously gets ported in, and then we had the crossbow for a very long time before it was back in vanilla. A lot of different things that we would craft or stuff that doesn't exist in vanilla, and it's hard to advertise because that's actually the beauty of Daisy on its own anyway, as these are things you just come across. Like, not a lot of Daisy players exist on the Daisy wiki as it is, but not that that even is a good tool. But I was recently given an opportunity to look closer at the wiki article for our own Doug crafting, and I'm trying to partition it in a way that specifies like what is unique to Doug, but trying to focus on like simple survival items that like Vadim's setup video like makes a couple of the steps like surviving, like freshie tips, like how to survive as a freshie. I'm trying to kind of combine those or use it to format that. And I would like to mention in that same vein that anyone can really contribute to the wiki as we've got it, or even the CCE. Like if you're familiar with any unique crafting, like how we have the burlap wrap on our weapons. That's an old vanilla item that's been gone for a very long time, but it's something Doug restored. And it's something small, but we can add more things like that or look at that exact model with the CCE, which is another thing that's unique to Doug. If we specifically, yeah, the dying system there is huge. Just to add on top of that as a point, not to go into, but the barrels and how they used to work pre 0.62 is it's like a fucking fable. It's a legend. The fact that they still work like that on Doug is magic. Like half the people that play Daisy don't know that spray paint usually actually works. Like it's a lot of these stuffs we just have to work better to advertise in a certain way that's not selling out necessarily. And I think the wiki opportunity that I was given is huge, and other members of the community can kind of write stuff up, anything, even a paragraph that you think Doug is unique or why, or what something stands out to you as unique. If that got sent to somebody who's in charge of the wiki team or something, that they can all get blended in and do something that can end up being customer facing, so to speak, or player facing for the Doug community. And that's it.
We welcome all your content on the Dark Wiki. Out soon, TM.
Doc is next in queue.
I mean, I think this was brought up before when I know there was quite a big discussion about the suggestion or topic when it was first suggested. And I think the best answer I read, I can't remember who it was, but what makes Doug unique? I mean, we're not a full roleplay server, we're not a full hardcore server, and we're not a full like vanilla, just regular official server either. I think that is the only thing that separates it from any other RP server or any other server for that matter, is the fact that it's really, like somebody said, like I said way back, that it's like almost the first stepping stone for those that like RP and they can really have a chance to experience it. And then if it's something that they're more looking for very hardcore RP, there's already servers out there for them at that point. If this is the perfect balance that they want, then this is the server for them, etc. If they don't like the the very light rules that are already here, then I mean there's vanilla or there's community or not community, but official servers. I think at the end of the day, there's no other server I can think of off the top of my head that compares at all to Doug.
Benjamin, go ahead.
So I think this topic comes from people complaining about how hard the CCA is, and also people complaining about being KOS. Personally, I couldn't care less about these new players that come in Discord and complain about those things. It's all there to see what it is on, what the server is. Who cares, man?
I put in a queue and then immediately lost my train of thought.
I'd like to respond slightly to
Yeah,
Biscuits
go
there.
ahead.
So I think you meant CLE, and you said like people complaining about like maybe how difficult it is to get going on the server. Or
Yeah, sorry,
complaining about chaos.
I didn't mean
No,
CLE. Sorry.
absolutely. And I kind of get the same thing. Like we're 12 years into this game existing. It's not really a question. Like I say it half jokingly when I tell people like you can't be KOS'd if you don't get S'd. Like just don't try not to get cited. Like wait until you're established or until you're ready to put yourself on at risk to go RP with someone. Or specifically the CLE, like how to chisel a fucking small stone off of a boulder and get a knife and get going, no matter whether you find a kitchen knife or not. These are things that it's just opportunities to teach people, though. When they show up in Discord and they're frustrated with it, they might be new to DayZ entirely. They might just be new to Doug, but you have to temper that, like, and be able to tell them, like, it's how to say, because it's a teaching opportunity, but half of them don't want that. So it leads to, like, I'm famous. I've got 3 or 4 new people to Doug tell me personally to fuck off before they've left the server, because it's like they think they're being talked down to when anyone tells them, well, here's something different you could have done to do that. But it's important to keep in mind that not everyone's going to react that way, and not everyone's stuck in their ways, and they need that. They need approached in a way. It's like, well, here's what you can do differently. So try not to be jaded, I guess. Not just you, Biscuits, but as a general sense of everyone, try not to be jaded. And I say that being one of the most jaded fucking people I know.
Don't you think these people know why they joined the server, though? They know that they want that threat. They want that feeling that someone can just randomly KOS them.
I feel like we have to get them to get to that. That is the big thing we advertise, and I agree with that. But a lot of people don't. They think they're playing DayZ still. It's just DayZ to them, another place to stop and play it. Their other server was full, or it crashed, or
yeah. The big complaint is that we say that we've got RP in the title, and then obviously their first or maybe like their first 3 interactions just ends up in KOS. That seems to be the main complaint from players like that. But when you read enhanced vanilla and organic roleplay, the first thing I would do is look that up. I would see what that means, and I would Google DayzUnderground, and I would read what the server's about, and then I'd play.
Something that came to my mind as a draw, and you touched on it as well, that in the title, enhanced vanilla, there you'll see like countless servers on like the DayZ launcher that is like basically vanilla, but it has like a party system and 5 times loot and helicopters and code lock, like the digital code locks and God knows what else. But I think Doug is pretty much the personification of like enhanced vanilla. Like all of the additions like added in the Doug mod, they fit seamlessly with like vanilla, whether it be the kind of the new textures on the clothing, the new weapons, things like the Vapor. I think Doug nails that like sort of yeah, like enhanced vanilla. Like it makes everything that it adds feel like it belongs in vanilla DayZ, whereas you'll have all these other servers that claim to be vanilla plus, but then they have like God knows what else. They'll have like fucking Porsches, fucking Ferraris. They'll have fucking.
Hey, don't knock the Hellcat, man.
I think, I think, like, and this goes back to my whitelist application, and this is what I put in my application. Doug gives DayZ what it's always missed, and that's that like kind of like the quest, like the storyline, the thing to aim towards. Whereas DayZ doesn't really have that end game apart from building a base, and stashing it with like PvP loot if you're a PvP player, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, it feels almost like a kind of like a Fallout game, like something like Fallout New Vegas, where you've got the map and you've got all these like you've got like all these factions like sort of scattered around, and there's like all this history between all the factions that you can find if you ask around or if you like check out their points of interest.
So it delivers in that aspect where it gives lore to DayZ the game, and then off that lore you can do quests and stories and all that kind of shit. And that's what DayZ doesn't have. It doesn't have like that PvE questline kind of stuff that you can do. And the beauty of it all is it's created by the players. It's all made by the players, and that's what makes Doug unique. But you know, at the same time, we don't want to take away too much of what DayZ vanilla is, and that's like, you know, a scary game where you can get shot at any moment.
I think that being the ability to be shot at any moment adds a lot of weight to any sort of interaction you have. I mean, like all the the interactions that's kind of sold me on the server, I walked away from it like knowing that I could have just been shot in the head at any point, but like it was the fact that I wasn't that kind of resonated with me and made me kind of like really sold me on the kind of concept of the server. Though obviously you're still gonna like get shot sometimes, and PvP can be fun as well, and it's like a kind of core aspect of DayZ that the game would just feel kind of hollow without it. If it was like you had to interact before engaging in PvP, or you couldn't KOS or something like that. And I think it also, obviously, like we're not quite back in like the kind of hardcore days of like 2020, 2021, where it was like pretty tricky to get off the coast, and like new players would like be struggling for hours trying to play chicken roulette. But you still do have to kind of think about like where your next meal's going to come from, and that does kind of also add to the apocalypse has been going on for like years at this point, and I think that's quite a good thing.
Yeah, like surviving still. Like I've been playing a lot of vanilla lately, while Doug's been quiet. It's compared to vanilla, like Doug's still hard. Yeah, Doug's still hard, man. Like even if it's not like hardcore of 2021, it's still.
You still have to use your brain. You can't
definitely
stand on a car. You can't just walk. You can't just spawn in a spawn town, find a pistol, stand on a car, and then just shoot zombies and be like, okay, there's a can of beans, can of spaghetti, some rice, some powdered milk. Okay, I can go to Tizzy now.
Yeah, it's yeah. So Doug is unique. I guess it's just about getting out there to people in it, so they know what we're about, really.
Yeah, I've been playing recently, actually, with one of the friends that sort of introduced me to DayZ. He's been away for like a couple of years, so to get him like back into the swing of things, we've been playing like vanilla, and it's been kind of refreshing to see. It's refreshing to see like kind of this perspective of someone that's not played in like 2 or 3 years, but it also kind of reminded me like playing so much vanilla. I'm just like, holy shit, I miss Doug because it actually is fucking challenging. I can't just turn my brain off. So I'm actually I might actually try and introduce him to Doug as well, because I keep mentioning it all the time. I'll be like, oh damn, I wish I could put this first aid kit on my belt like I can in Doug. Oh man, I wish I could find this clothing item that's texture only spawns in Doug. Like, and he's constantly going like, the fuck is this Doug you keep talking about?
Yeah.
Well, anyone else have anything they'd like to add on this topic? Well, yeah, I think Doug is still still pretty unique. Like we are a niche though. And Echo, I've spoken to Echo a bunch, and I've seen I feel like at least I can speak on like his stances, because I know he was always one that was advocating, even back when Doug was like in the ultra like hardcore like 2021 level. He he was someone that was advocating for even more hardcore back then. Like, he wanted it to be even tougher. But like I just don't think he was thinking in the through the lens of someone that's like coming from officials. Someone that's coming from like official DayZ, like suddenly being dropped in the deep end, like with a fucking chains and irons weighing them down. So like, I think it is easy to forget. Like, people can. We are, most of the people here, we are not like just your average DayZ players. Like, Doug tends to draw a lot of like really good like players, and players that know their way around the game, because they put so much time into Doug, because Doug just kind of sucks you in like that and gets you really invested. So it's easy to kind of be like, oh well, this is like super duper easy, like come on man. But like, when you've got like 5, 6, 7, 8,000 hours in the game, like, it's definitely not going to be as hard for you as it is going to be for little Timmy, who just got the game last Christmas and only has like 4 hours in the game. This reminds me, I need to update my little Doug crafting file thing. I've not updated it for the last couple updates.
I just want to say, having come from mainly playing the Saviors server for like 1,000 hours before with one of my buddies before coming over here, that was the hardest transition I have ever done. It was more difficult, and I don't think it was even hardcore when I first came to Doug either at that point. So it definitely is, just in that way alone, extremely unique.
Yeah, I
remember it was so fun trying to survive.
The reason I kind of disconnected from a lot of my friends that introduced me to DayZ is because they went the way of, they wanted to play those hyper modded servers with the traders and the boosted loot and all that stuff, and it was just so fucking boring for me. So then I came to Doug. I never actually really struggled that much with Doug. I think because that super hardcore survival aspect is just what I was like looking for. It was right up my alley, so I immediately was able to kind of adjust.
Yeah, the thing I like about it now is the fact that it's much more rewarding when you do get, to like how people would say like end game, type gear and stuff. Yeah. And I mean, it's like you're going from, like, when I was playing on my server, you're going from, you're getting end game right away. You're getting everything you need right off the bat, versus go to Doug and now your first steps are no longer run to Tizzy right away. It's where am I going to get my next meal? What's the next town I'm going to go?
I remember I was playing on some I don't know, whatever server it was, and I walked into Berezino, obviously as a freshie. I walked into the little military tent, like in Upper Berezino, and I found a foul sitting in that tent, and I just immediately logged out. I'm like, this isn't the server for me. Like, it just struck a chord. I was like, nah, I can't do this anymore. Like, it just makes it way too easy. It, like, defeats the point.
Servers like that seem to just really, really heavily push just PvP. That's the whole thing, is you can get geared super quick and just kill
Yep.
people. Which I like playing those from time to time, but it's nothing I would ever see myself putting hours into.
They encourage the freshie hunt, or else they'd just be another like location-based PvP server. Like the whole point is to get geared up and go hide on a hill overlooking whatever city and pop the poor unfortunate person that tries to do what you did, but just next.
Exactly. Yeah, me and British Paul definitely did not do any of that today.
We don't do stuff like that.
Well, if that is all we have to say here, then you could officially consider yourself dismissed. Is there anything that staff would like to say? Is there anything that any other like kind of topics that people would like to bring up?
Have fun with the new wipe. Don't be goofballs. That's it.
Oh, I have a question. Is there a list of different CCE suggestions that have gone through that will be coming out with this upcoming Doug mod update?
That would be something to ask Desync. He will have a list. I imagine they won't be telling you what's coming out this update because they'll want to keep it a surprise.
No spoilers, man.
I mean, aside from what they've teased already in one of the images, but I'll leave that to you if you want to take a look at it.
They usually put it in on the changelog day of the wipe.
There'll be some sort of website
Or
post,
changelog.
I would imagine.
Anyway,
See you in a bit.
If that is all, then you can officially consider yourself dismissed. Goodbye, class. Have a fun fucking recess, and I will see you whenever we next do one of these things.
Bye-bye.
Let me just check the record.